Hello there, everybody. Welcome to Table for One. Uh, my personal preference of how to play a game of Aeon's End is to randomize everything. Get a random Nemesis, random mages, random market, and just kind of see what I can make out of that whole setup. So that's usually how I play games, but we're going to do something a little bit different tonight. We're actually going to draft a market, and we're going to do that because we're going to fight the final boss of Aeon's End Legacy. So if you have not played Legacy and don't want any story spoilers for that game, you probably want to go ahead and skip out on this video. But we will be fighting the final boss of Aeon's End Legacy, and that is, of course, Zaxos Ascended. Now, if you've played Zaxos, you know he is a brutal boss, just remarkably difficult. And I kind of like that every once in a while because it lets me put a little more forethought into what I want to, the team I want to take in to face him and the market I want to take in to face him without making the game overly easy for me. So we're going to draft a market to face him. So what that means is we're going to play two-handed. We'll draw 3 mages, pick 1, 3 more mages, and pick 1, and then we'll just draw 3 random market cards for each slot in the market and pick 1 each time. So to start off with, we will face off against Zaxos. Let's see our mage options. So Mazahedron, Zaxos from the Void, that'd be nicely ironic, or Talix. I'm thinking Talix is probably the best choice over here. Maz and Zaxos, I'm not a huge fan of either of those. And then Olgamor, Mazra, or Nook. Let's go with Mazra. So Mazra and Talix are both mages from New Age. Talix is kind of interesting. He's got basically an all-spark starting hand and deck with his, I think it's a Fernasium, I want to say is what his relic is called, that lets him discard spells to gain Ether. And Mazra is one of the first mages that has a side deck, so she has 2 copies of her unique starter card, and as she uses her ability, she will be able to upgrade the cards in her deck. Or rather, she'll be able to upgrade her starter card with different copies of cards from her side deck that get bigger and more powerful each time you use that ability. So they're both pretty good mages from New Age. I think, let's see, what do we want here? Verswood Amber is a solid 3-other gem. Gives you a little bit of accelerated economy because you can put it straight on top of your deck. So I can take your turn 1 and turn it into a really powerful turn 2. Reduced to Ash. That one is a healthy amount of damage with some deck thinning, but it is pretty expensive. And Burning Current. So while prepped during your casting phase, you may lose 2 pulse tokens. If you do, spells you cast this turn deal 1 additional damage. Cast, deal 1 damage, gain 1 pulse token. I'm not a big fan of going with the pulse cards unless there's several of them in the market, so I don't really want to. Burning Current's not one that's good enough that I want to bank on it from the start, at least not in my opinion. I'm thinking Verswood Amber is actually a good one here. We can get some really quick acceleration in our decks, which is necessary against Zaxos. So up next, Manifold Container, gain an Ether. Next time you gain a card this turn, you may also gain a card that costs less than the gained card. Not a huge fan of that relic. Jeweled Brain, gem, gain 2 other, or gain 1, return to your hand a card in your discard pile that costs 0. Now that's going to be terrible with these mages. Entangled Shard, gain 2 other. If you have 3 or more charges, gain 1 additional other. Yeah, that actually is probably going to be a pretty good card for us, because with Zaxos, we want to have charges on hand to discard his spells, so we may be able to take advantage of that every once in a while. So Leeching Agate, when you gain this, gain 1 charge, gain 2 other. Probably not, definitely not with Verswood Amber in the market. Crystallize is terrible with Talix, so we don't want that one, which means by default we're going to do Dust Caller. So deal 4 damage, any ally returns a card that costs 0 from their discard pile to their hand. So that's not going to be great for us, but it'll be okay. Alright, here we go. Polyphase Turbine. If it's the first time you played Polyphase Turbine this turn, gain 2 other, otherwise gain 1 charge and 1 other. Now that might be a really nice card with Zaxos. Vortex Gauntlet, cast any player's prep spell, return it to their hand. No, probably not. Or Reflective Conduit. Attach this to any player's breach. When a spell is cast from the breach, the player who cast that spell may return it to their hand instead of discarding it. If they do, discard this. I don't think Reflective Conduit's going to be huge for us. Mazra already has a pretty good amount of ability to return her big spells to her hands. And Talix, I just don't see us needing that too much. So let's go Polyphase Turbine, get some more easy charge generation into this game. Okay, Muted Lacocyte. When you gain this, silence a minion, gain 3 other. Ooh, Full Might Slab, gain 1 other, gain 2 pulse tokens. Till the end of the turn, you may lose 1 pulse token to gain 1 other any number of times. Or double tap. Deal 1 damage, deal 1 damage. So Muted Lacocyte or Full Might Slab, that's a tough call between the two of them. Silence is, hugely powerful. And a 5-cost, 3 other gem is always great to have, but I think I gotta go Full Might Slab. That ability to just kind of bank up Ether and use it later is pretty powerful. So that we should be good on gems now. I don't think we don't need to buy anything else that gives us Ether. We probably have 1 too many, to be honest. But okay, coming up here, Imbued Smash. So cast, deal 4 damage. You may discard a card in hand. If you do, deal 2 damage to the Nemesis. That's a good card. Or Force Amplifier. Cast, deal 3 damage. If this was cast from an open 3 or 4 breach, deal 1 additional damage. Ooh. So that is a good card. So Mazra in particular wants to have her 3 breach open right away. Talix wants to get breaches open because he's so spark heavy. So we would likely be able to get the full 4 or 5 damage out of that, depending on which mage is casting it. But Imbued Smash is also a really good card. Because being able to do, 6 to even 8 damage if you're casting that off of a bonus damage breach, pretty huge. I think we'll go Imbued Smash for this game. We've got pretty hefty economy, so we should be able to afford more expensive cards without too much trouble. Uh-oh. We're having some issues from Indy's server. Let's try a quick... see if we can refresh our page real quick and get our graphics back. There we go. Okay. It switches the cards around a little bit because it re-randomizes them when we refresh, but at least we can see what we're talking about. So Spirit Lift, while prepped, once during your turn you gain a charge, any ally gains 2 charges. That is almost a guaranteed pickup for it. Ooh, but Diamond Cluster is probably my favorite gem in the game, but we have plenty of gems, and Spirit Lift, in a game where we've got healthy economy and need lots of charges, that may be a lifesaver for us. Okay, Exogranite, good gem, but not one we need right now. Likewise, Fractured Quartz, we don't need any more gems, so Arcane Salvo. You may place a relic you played this turn, or a relic in your discard pile on top of your deck. That'll actually work out pretty nicely with our Polyphase Turbine, if we get those out. So yeah, we'll take Arcane Salvo. And that's that. So if we want to take a look at what we've got here. So we've got Talix and Mazra fighting for us, both some good powerful mages. Vrisswood Amber, Entangled Shard, and Full Might Slab for our economy up top here. Oh, and I don't actually remember choosing Living Gauntlet. Must have done that for me when we refreshed the page. Oh, that's fine. So Vrisswood Amber, gain 2 other, placed on top of your deck. Entangled Shard, Full Might Slab. In all honesty, I think we're probably not going to buy Vrisswood Amber or Entangled Shard. We're going to invest in some Polyphase Turbines. Maybe do a Vrisswood Amber turn 1 if that'll set up a big turn 2 for either of our mages. But Polyphase Turbine and Full Might Slabs are going to be our major economy drivers this game. Living Gauntlet, reveal the top card of your deck. You may destroy or discard it. Each ally may draw a card. Each ally that does discards a card in hand. That is a pretty good card, so we can use that for some deck destruction if we want it. Might pick up one of those. Arcane Salvos or Dust Callers. We'll probably be going for Arcane Salvos over Dust Callers, I'm thinking. And trying to get to Spirit Lifts. So Imbued Smash, if we have a good opportunity for it, if we can maybe use a Vrisswood Amber to get an early one for some minion control, that'd be worth it. But I think really what we want to have in here is Polyphase Turbines, Full Might Slabs, and Spirit Lifts. And if we can invest heavily in those, we'll be able to get some really big economic turns. We'll be able to get a ton of charge generation, which will let us discard Zaxos' spells, and Spirit Lift will do some major damage for us. So I think a lot of this is going to come down to if we can get up and running quickly enough to knock out Zaxos' early minions and knock his health down, because he starts with 90 health. So we can get him down to 0 before he just wipes the table with us. So let's get that game set up and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so we drafted our Mages in Market to fight against Zaxos. Zaxos is an incredibly difficult boss if you haven't faced off against him before. He's designed to be faced with fully powered up Legacy Mages with overpowered market cards, so hitting him with anything other than that is exceedingly difficult, but I kind of like that about him. He is the boss where the Nemesis, rather, where you can go and find that most overpowered combo that just lets you skate through any other game, and you pull it out against Zaxos, and it'll be a close one. So we'll see how this goes. We don't have all that much damage potential in here if we can't get some Spirit Lifts out early. So at least we don't have a whole lot of kind of comboable damage potential, repeatable damage potential. So I'm a little nervous about being able to knock him down from his 90 before he takes us out. But we will see how the game goes. So anyway, we got ourselves set up here. Talix Mazra versus Zaxos, a market that's got pretty excellent charge and ether generation, and some good, high cost spells and mid damage spells, but we'll see if that's enough. So coming up first, player 1 is going. So that'll be Talix. We'll draw his hand. So Talix is interesting if you haven't played him before. He's got a deck full of Sparks and Fernasium. So Fernasium lets you discard up to 3 spells in hand, gain 1 ether for each spell discarded this way. So we're going to prep a Spark here. We'll discard 2 Sparks with our Fernasium for 3 ether. That'll open up our Breach 2. Fairly standard opening for him. Prep the 2 Sparks and call that good. Draw up. His starting deck's the same. 4 Sparks and a Fernasium. Mazra is up next. So Mazra is interesting. She's got a side deck over here. So her starter cards, she has 2 of them, are Mazra's Studies, and they help get your 3 Breach open quickly, which will give us some charges once it is, but her ability allows you to destroy those cards and get more powerful cards from her side deck. So we're probably going to try to have Mazra be more of our damage dealer, and let Talix be more of our support, at least initially. We'll need them both to be doing some pretty serious damage towards the end of the game. And I think, let's set Mazra up to, what do we want her to do? I think, let's set her up with a Vrisswood Amber. That'll put that on top of our deck, so Vrisswood Amber. 2 other gem, when you gain it, you can place it on top of your deck. So that'll slow down Mazra's Studies a little bit, but it'll give us a nice 6 other hand on turn 2, which will let us either buy a bigger spell, depending on what we see, or a Full Might Slab to get a lot of ether generation going. So Mazra's up again. We'll go ahead and cast Mazra's Studies, focus our Breach 3 with that. And then with our 6 ether, I think we will pick up a Full Might Slab. We'll get her economy rocking earlier on here. We may live to regret that, depending on what Zaxos has come out here, we might wish that we, or really wish that we had some more damage, but we'll see. Oh my. So we're going to have 2 Nemesis turns in a row right away. Well, that lets us do something a little interesting here now with Fernasium. So we'll cast 1 spark, which will, excuse me, wrong dial, take Zaxos down to 89, and prep another spark up there, and then we'll discard 3 sparks and our Fernasium, and use our Fernasium rather. So that'll give us 4 Ether, which for him, we will pick up, yeah, I think of Riftwood Amber from as well. Do we want to put that up top? Yeah, we'll pick up a Riftwood Amber, put it on top. That'll give him also a very healthy, that'll give us the potential for a 6 Ether turn with Talix with the Riftwood Amber, 3 sparks, and a Fernasium. Though we'll obviously see what Zaxos pops out here. He's got a lot of minions, so we're likely to want some damage. I guess I should technically draw the turn order card. We got 2 Nemesis turns in a row coming up. Okay, Ether Extract. So power 2, Unleash. Any player discards 2 gems. If both of those gems cost 0, Unleash. So power 2. And up next, Nemesis again. Lose a power token. Daze. So any player suffers 2 damage and discards a card in hand. If that card costs 0, Gravehold suffers 2 damage. So, can we afford the 2 damage on Gravehold? So we can get rid of Riftwood Amber. And then we'd be at 4. I think we're just going to take the 2 damage on Gravehold. We'll give it to Talix. And we'll take a little bit of early damage on Gravehold. Oh, well actually, now that I say that, I think we actually want to take that on Mazra. So we'll still do the 2 damage on Gravehold. But Talix, we want that 6 Ether hand. Yeah, Mazra, if we get rid of 2, we just got a charge going for. That's fine. Good. Or excuse me, get rid of 1 card. We got a charge going for. So that's not too bad. Now, so that was actually pretty good for the first Nemesis round there. If we are able to, we'll be able to get hopefully we can get a couple of player turns in here, get some spells purchased so that we're really ready when Zaxos' minions come out to be able to get them knocked down as quickly as we can. So, discard pile up there. Okay, player 1. So, we'll pick up a Full Might Slab. We're doing a little bit of a gamble this time. So that's our Riftwood Amber, discard 3 sparks, and a Fernasium. 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, we want them in that order. Make sure our Fernasium comes back up with our... Oh, wait a minute. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. So that actually works out really well. We get to draw our Full Might Slab already, and we'll have... up to a 7 Ether turn now for Talix this time around. That's a good hand to have locked up. Completely lost my train of thought there on what I was talking about. But anyway, we're doing a little bit of a gamble right now with the Full Might Slabs. That if we can get some bigger economy going, save up for those spirit lifts, that'll really help us out long term during this game. If we get a little lucky with the Nemesis deck, that'll pay off for us and put us in a good spot going into Tier 2. And Zaxos is tough enough that you kind of got to plan on that. You got to gamble a little bit. So Ether Extract goes off on the Nemesis turn. Zaxos unleashes. When he unleashes, we draw the top card of his spell deck, put it in his leftmost breach. So we've got a Gravity Node coming out right now. Any player suffers 2 damage and discards a card in hand. So Zaxos will cast that spell at the start of the next Nemesis turn. Any player has to discard 2 gems if they both cost 0 unleash. So that is highly unfortunate. Ooh, actually that is really unfortunate because I wasn't thinking we can't. The only person who has 2 gems is Mazra. So we have to discard 2 gems that both cost 0, which means we gotta unleash again. Flare. Gravehold suffers 1 damage. Reveal the top card of the turn order deck. If a player turn order card was revealed, that player suffers 2 damage. So that is going to be a really rough card this time around because we will get both the Gravehold damage and the player damage guaranteed unless the Nemesis happens to go last this round. So Talix is up again. So we will play our Full Might Slab, which will get us 2 pulse tokens and 1 ether. We still don't really need to be pinking around with the sparks there, so if we discard our 3 sparks, and that'll give us 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, okay. So discard our 3 sparks, and that, in our Fernasium, that gives us 4 ether, plus 1 ether is 5 ether. So we could have 6, 7 ether if we wanted it, but I think we're better off just sticking with 5, and we'll go ahead and pick up an Imbued Smash, which that will allow us to get some more damage cycling around. I think the way we have that set up right now, we want to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. Okay, so we want to keep our Fernasium there. Fernasium, you can actually, instead of discarding it, you can place it on top of your deck when you use it, but if we can just keep them set up that way, that works. So now Talix is set up nicely here that the next time our Full Might Slab comes up, we're going to be able to get a lot of ether out of that and pick up a Spirit Lift, hopefully, or cancel a big power or something along those lines that's coming up. So we'll have a good ether hand coming up again, potential for 6 ether or some more damage. But that's it for Talix for this round. Mazra gets to go. So a boring turn for her. We prep our Mazra studies. And a crystal. Oh, I wasn't thinking. I should have used some of that ether to buy off at least one of those flares for Talix. Now we're in a bit of trouble. I think we got some... Yeah, we got a good ether hand coming up for Mazra. So we can hopefully buy off one of those. But we're banking... We got a 50-50 shot here. All right, yeah, we got Mazra going. So that's good news. So we'll cast Mazra's Studies. Focus our 3 breach. Oh. Hit my mat there. And prep another Mazra's Studies. We will use Full Might Slab, which will give us 2 pulse tokens. So that's 1 ether, 3 ether, 4, 5 ether. We'll get rid of 1 pulse token for 6 ether, and that'll buy us 3 charges. And then we will discard those charges, and I think get rid of this flare. So when we discard the flare, it goes back to the bottom of the spell deck. And that was lucky. That was a mistake on my part on Talix's turn, but we got lucky with Mazra getting to go next. Being a little... Before I do that, I got to discard my cards from this time around. Okay. And we'll have a handful of crystals coming up next time, so probably a charging up turn. We could open our 2 breach, I guess, if we really wanted to. All right, now the Nemesis gets to go. Wait a minute. I completely forgot to draw the Nemesis card on his turn last time around. So he's got a power 2. Yeah, that's still probably what we would have done. When you're playing solo, I find I sometimes struggle with my tracking, especially if there's a power going off that's doing a lot of things, or a minion that has a complicated persistent effect. it can be easy to get lost and forget to do the draw phase. So Endless Chasm should have been out. We'll discard 1 from that. Draw up Prelatus of Fire. There we go. So Endless Chasm is a spend 6 to discard, power 2, unleash twice, Gravehold suffers 2 damage. Prelatus of Fire, first of Zaxos' minions we'll see. His persistent is that Zaxos Ascended concentrates. Reveal the top card of Zaxos Ascended spell deck. If that spell costs 3, destroy it. So he is bad news. We are fortunate that he came out right before a shuffle, because that means we got a good chance of being able to at least get some damage on him before he goes off too many times. But when Zaxos Ascended concentrates, that takes the top card of his spell deck over here, which is a more powerful spell, or the top card of his concentrate deck, puts it on the bottom of his spell deck. So basically he thins Zaxos' deck for him. He buys him more powerful spells and thins out his lower power early ones. Oh, and speaking of how tracking is hard, we've got to do our gravity node. Any player suffers 2 damage and discards a card in hand. Zaxos should have cast that on his turn. I think Mazra would be a good candidate for that. Yeah, I think we'll do Mazra, because if Talix goes, we can actually get rid of that power. So we'll take Mazra down to 6. And she's left with 4 other, which will just be 2 charges for her. That makes good sense for next turn. Nemesis goes again, so no dice on that. So Endless Chasm goes off. We unleash twice, and Gravehold suffers 2. Unleash twice. We get another Gravity Node. And we get an Incinerating Fist. Gravehold suffers 3 damage. Now the Gravehold damage is going to be a little easier for us to deal with this game. Talix's ability can be used to heal Gravehold for 5. Mazra's ability, or not her ability rather, but her top level cards do some player healing. So we'll be able to do a little bit of ally healing on Talix, but we don't have any way that I can think of off the top of my head to get Mazra healed once she starts taking damage. So Zaxos Ascended concentrates, so we take the top card of the spell deck, or the concentrate deck, and put it in there. Reveal the top card of the spell deck, that's a flare. We destroy that card because it costs 3. And we get an attack. Unleash twice, destroy one of Zaxos Ascended's prep spells that costs 3. Ouch. This is going to be a painful next Nemesis turn. So we unleash twice. We get a flare and a gravity node. We're gonna kill either the flare or the gravity node there. His breach 3, any player suffers 2 damage. His breach 4, Gravehold suffers 2 damage. I think we will get rid of the gravity node. Since that's a guaranteed 2 player damage and 2 Gravehold damage, plus a discard. The flare, we could potentially get away with just 2 player damage and 1 Gravehold damage, which we would if it goes right away this time around. So I think that's the better one for us to knock off. And then Zaxos Ascended concentrates at the end of that. So up next is Zaxos. Ouch. So all these spells cast. So we get a gravity node. Any player suffers 2 damage. And oh wait, I completely forgot how flare worked. Any player suffers 2 damage and discards a card in hand. We will let Talix, I think, discard a spark and take 2 damage down to 8. Incinerating Fist. Gravehold suffers 3 damage down to 23. And Flare, I was completely spacing on this one. It is a player turn order card that will be revealed. So Gravehold takes 1 down to 22. And player 2 takes 2 down to 4. And any player suffers 2 damage from the 3 breach, so we'll put that on Talix down to 6. We are very suddenly not looking too hot right now. So Up next, at least we know we get 4 player turns now to make some things happen. So player 2, Mazra's Studies. Let's see, are we gonna... We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nothing here. So yeah, I think that is in fact... Oh wait, we're gonna have our big spell in there. So, because we bought an imbued smash, so that'll be our 4 damage spell. So we need 3 damage on him before that comes up. We got 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay. So we'll cast Mazra's Studies. We'll do 1 damage to the Polatus of Fire. Just doing my math there, I want to be able to buy a 5-cost spell with Talix. So we're going to hang on to all of our cards over there. That means I want to be able to get 3 damage done to the Polatus before he goes again, so that he can get him with his imbued smash that we've got coming up. So Mazra Studies does 1, 4 crystals will buy us 2 charges. We draw back up to 5, and that ends our turn. We're going to have a big money turn coming next turn for Mazra. Now, up next is Talix. So Talix is going to cast both these sparks for 2 damage, take Polatus down to 4. We will play our Fernasium, discard 2 sparks, and our Verswood Amber, which will give us another 2, so that's 2, 4, 5 total. That'll let us buy, I think, another imbued smash. Let's keep going with all the damage potential that we can get. And that will let us then call it good. We got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay, so that'll work. So we'll put our Fernasium on the bottom there, and then the Fernasium that we draw this time around, we will just have to keep discarding, or we'll keep putting on top of our deck so that we have it around. So yeah, heavy spell hand for Talix. Up next, Mazra. So Mazra will prep our Mazra's Studies. Fulmite Slab gives us 2 pulse tokens. Verswood Amber, Crystal. So we've got 1, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we'll go 6, 7, 8. That will buy us a Spirit Lift. That's a little bit faster than we would have gotten. We can get actually better damage out of some of Mazra's top tier spells, but it would take us another couple of activations and timings to get there. So buying that Spirit Lift early on, we won't buy another one, but that'll be some very needed damage coming through Mazra's Studies and 4 crystals next time around. That's good. We'll be able to probably pop our ability for that. And Talix will round us off. So we got an imbued smash that will prep. And I think let's go ahead and discard the rest of these with our Fernasium, put that on top of the deck to buy 2 charges. So discarding 3 sparks and using Fernasium for 4 other to buy 2 charges. If Zaxos goes again, we're going to need to be able to discard a spell, so having some charges prepped for that is a good plan. Yeah, it's amazing how well things feel like they go when the Nemesis doesn't get to go for 4 turns. I'm sure we'll fix that as soon as Zaxos comes up again, but it would sure be nice if we could get a player 1 draw here. No such luck. All right, Zaxos Ascended concentrates. Put that under there. Reveal the top spell of his deck. If it costs 3, destroy it. We destroy an Incinerating Fist. And Polatus of Pain comes out. So 6 health. When this minion is discarded, Zaxos Ascended concentrates. Persistent, Gravehold suffers 2 damage, or any player loses a charge. So you can see why heavy charge generation is helpful in this game. Mazra's Studies will open up our 3 breach. That'll give us some charge generation. We will use our 4 Ether to buy 2 charges, pop our ability. We get to destroy a card with Mazra in its name from our hand, and then we can replace it with a card from her side deck that costs up to 3 more than the card we destroyed. So we have the choice between Mazra's Arc and Mazra's Wisdom. Mazra's Wisdom, deal 2 damage, any ally draws a card. Mazra's Arc, deal 3 damage, focus your closed breach with the lowest focus cost. I think Mazra's Arc is what we'll go for, because we're going to be wanting some serious damage this game. So Mazra's Arc, we'll put that down there. That'll let us get some more breaches open as well. And that's a turn for Mazra. Ooh, yeah, there we go. Spirit Lift and some big Ether coming up for her for next turn. Now, Talix, we forgot to draw up his hand last time, so we'll remember to do that now. Up next, come on, Talix. Nope, Mazra. Oof. Now I'm wishing I'd used my Mazra's Studies last time to deal 1 damage to the Prelatus there, because as it is, we will do Mazra's Arc. That'll deal 3 damage to Prelatus of Pain. Focused my closed breach with the lowest focus cost. That's breach 2. I gain a charge for casting from my research breach. We'll prep a Spirit Lift. While prepped, once during your turn, when you gain a charge, any ally gains 2 charges. So we ideally we can get that paired with another spell so that we can actually take advantage of that while prepped effect twice each time we prep the spell. With our breach 3 there giving us charges. But in this case, we've got a Full Might Slab, 2 Pulse Tokens, and 1 Ether, 3 Ether, 4 Ether, 5 Ether. Let's go ahead and lose... yeah, we'll have that coming up. I guess 5 Ether. So, yeah, we can go ahead and lose 1 charge. We'll take 6. We're actually only going to buy 2 charges here, since our Spirit Lift will give us a charge when we come through. We did gain a charge, so that lets Talix gain 2 charges. And with our other 2 Ether, we're just going to focus our breach 2. Because if we can get that open while we still have some Mazra's Arcs going around, that'll potentially get our 4 breach open for us, which is kind of nice. But that'll be that turn. And draw back up to 5. Now, 4 charges in Mazra's Study, or 4 crystals in Mazra's Studies for next time around. Okay, give me a Talix. We got a 2 and 3 shot. No such luck. All right, Zaxos Ascended concentrates. We look at the top card of his deck. It's a 4-cost spell, so he does not destroy that one. The Prelatus of Pain. Gravehold suffers 2 damage, or any player loses a charge. I think we can afford to have Talix lose a charge here. And we got a Chaos Flail. So power 2 to discard, spend 7. Unleash twice. Any player places their discard pile on top of their deck and shuffles it. Then that player reveals the top 2 cards of their deck and destroys the most expensive card revealed. So that can be a dangerous card indeed. Right now, that's the Nemesis turn. We're into tier 2, so did we? Wait a minute. We missed a card last time around. Because that was the second Nemesis. Yep. Alright, like I said about tracking and skipping draw phases, we skipped a draw phase again. So this card should have come out last time. It'll have 1 token off of it. And the attack is what would have come out this time. Assail, unleash twice. The player with the most expensive prep spell places that spell on top of their deck. Alright, so that is unleash twice. We get Breach Communion. The player with the most pulse tokens loses 1 pulse token and suffers 3 damage. And Gravity Node. Cast any player suffers 2 damage and discards a card in hand. Now, both good and bad here. Spirit Lift does have to go back on top of Mazra's deck. That's unfortunate. The good part of that is that Talix is who's going to go next, and his Imbued Smash is still going to be around, which will allow us to hit the Prelatus of Pain, or rather to take out the Prelatus of Fire still. So that part's okay. Up next, if you're wondering, whenever you hit a phase transition, or a tier transition rather, in when you're playing two-handed, that should always happen on the second Nemesis turn of a round. So if it doesn't, you know you goofed up somewhere. Anyway, Talix now gets 2 turns in a row, so we will cast our Imbued Smash, which will deal 4 damage, take out the Prelatus of Fire, finally. Then, I'm debating, do we want to discard a card in hand to deal 2 damage to the Nemesis? We're going to have the potential for 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage this turn. Though getting our Sparks prepped to be able to take out the Prelatus of Pain next turn is probably what makes the most sense. So, I think we can actually afford... Ooh, although now that I say that, I don't know if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think we... I think we... Ooh. So, no, I don't think we can, because I'm pretty sure we can't discard our Farnasium because we need it to, for our next hand of spells that's coming up here. So we won't discard a card for the 2 damage. We do have... So we killed the one. Alright, now decision time. We play a Full Might Slab. Gives us 2 more of these. So we got the potential for 5 Ether there. We've got 6 Ether. And we could have... So we could discard our Chaos Flail, which would prevent an Unleash twice. And destroying the most expensive card that somebody gets revealed and shuffling their deck. Or we could lean in here, get rid of the Prelatus of Pain, and buy another charge to get rid of that Breach Communion. I think that probably makes the most sense, though eating an Unleash twice is never a fun thing. But yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. So we play a Full Might Slab, we get 1, Farnasium gives us 2. We'll go ahead and buy a charge with that 2, discard those to discard Breach Communion here. Then we will go ahead and lose 3 Pulse tokens to give us 3 more Ether, which will let us focus our Breach 3. And that will let us then prep our 3 Sparks. Now, our Farnasium goes back on top of our deck here, because we're going to need it next turn to get rid of some spells. Full Might Slab goes to the discard. And we've got... Oh. No, that gives 6. So we can't quite get the 7 that we'd need to discard that. But anyway, next turn is Talix's turn again. We will cast all 3 sparks, which will get us 3 damage onto Prelatus of Pain. Put that over there. Now, if we want to, so we got a Vristwood Amber and a Farnasium. That gives us 3 Ether. We could discard all 3 of our spells, which would give us a total of 6 Ether, which is enough to buy 3 charges and get rid of that gravity node. I don't think it's worth it to lose the Imbued Smash, though. So we'll prep a spark. We'll discard 1 spark for Farnasium, and that will give us 4 Ether total. So we'll buy 2 charges with that. And then, we'll put our Farnasium back on the bottom here. Bottom card of our deck. Then we get 1, 2, 3, 4. And 5. Our Imbued Smash back. 3 sparks, Farnasium, and an Imbued Smash. So that'll work out there. And yeah, I think it's going to require some serious luck to avoid that Chaos Flail, though another Mage turn would let us get rid of the Gravity Node pretty easily. Okay. Next player, player 2. Alright, well, decision time. We could pop our ability and get a better card instead of our Mazra's Studies. We've got 4 crystals and Mazra's Studies. So for starters, we'll play the 4 crystals. That gives us 4 Ether. Is it worth it no, I think we're probably better off. We'll go ahead and discard 3 charges, put Gravity Node back under, since we're going to be getting another double Unleash here we may not be able to do anything about. We're not in a good spot for that. So we'll prep Mazra's Studies. And then with the 4 Ether we have, we'll buy 2 charges. Okay. Draw back up. Mazra's got her Full Might Slab, Mazra's Arc, Spirit Lift, and 2 crystals. So that would be 3, 4, 5, nope, 6. So not quite enough for her. If we'd been keeping better track of our deck, we could have known to hang on to a crystal or something, but c'est la vie. And, well, it would have mattered because it's her turn again. So at this point, we'll cast Mazra's Studies. Our Breach 3's open, so we'll just deal 1 damage to the Nemesis. Down to 88. Oh boy, we are making progress. We'll prep Mazra's Arc and Spirit Lift. And this will actually let us get a ton of utility out of Spirit Lift. So we now have 1, 2, 3 Ether, 2 more Pulse tokens. Ooh, yeah. No, that's what we want to do. We're going to hold off on prepping Mazra's Arc there. So we got 1, 2, 3 Ether. We'll discard a Pulse token for 4 Ether, 2 charges. Pop those, destroy our Mazra's Arc. That'll let us get a 6 cost spell coming out here. So our choices there are we can either go with Mazra's Inferno or Mazra's Gift. Mazra's Inferno is our big damage spell. It's deal 6 damage or deal 4 damage, destroy a card in hand. Mazra's Gift is deal 4 damage, any ally gains a charge, or deal 4 damage, any ally gains 1 life. I think we're going to get Mazra's Gift because that life gain may be huge for us. And you know what? This actually puts us in a pretty good spot with Mazra because she now has almost all of her, I think all of her good cards, except for Full Might Slab, are going to be either in her hand or prepped. So that's good news. Now, we bought charges with Spirit Lift prepped, so Talix gains 2 charges. And on Mazra's next turn, when we cast Mazra's Gift, we will gain a charge, which will give Talix another 2 charges. So we're going to want to make a point of either spending those charges one way or the other, so we've got room to gain a few more. So that's Mazra's turn. We draw back up, discard first of all, and draw back up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got 4 crystals and a Verswood Amber, 6 other hand coming up for Mazra. Talix over here. Well, I guess we've got to find out who goes first. Actually, a Nemesis turn before Talix wouldn't be too bad. Nope, Talix goes first. So we will cast our Imbued Smash for starters, which will deal 4 damage to Zaxos, take him down to 84. And, oops, dropped a card. We've got Fernasium that we'll be playing, but let's figure out what we want to do with the rest of our stuff. I guess first we want to cast our Spark. I don't think we cast our Spark. We probably leave it prepped. That would give us then 4 Ether with those, which would be potential for 2 charges, and we'd prep our Imbued Smash. Or we could discard yeah, I guess that makes more sense. So we'll actually cast that Spark and deal 1 damage. We will discard another Spark from hand, which will deal another 2 damage to the Nemesis. So I'm out of order here. We'll discard a Spark from hand to deal 2 damage with the Imbued Smash. We'll cast that other Spark to deal 1 damage. And then that will let us prep a Spark, use a Fernasium and a Spark for another Ether. And we will pop our ability here. And that will let us give 5 life to Gravehold, I'm thinking. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that works for us. So we'll get Gravehold back up to 27. Help us weather some of these coming unleashes a little bit more. And I forgot this card gets discarded. That card goes up there. Oh, I was not thinking. Oh well, I meant to hang on to that Fernasium, so we might get stuck with a Spark in hand here, but that's not the end of the world. Up next, probably the Nemesis. Yep, Nemesis. So Chaos Flail goes off. So we unleash twice. That will put an Incinerating Fist and a Flare up top. So Incinerating Fist, 3 Gravehold damage, Flare. Gravehold suffers 1 damage. Reveal the top card of the turn order deck. If it's a player card, that player suffers 2 damage. And any player places their discard pile on top of their deck and shuffles it. We're going to have Mazra do that, since the only card she's got that's not a starter card is her Full Might Slab, which would be unfortunate to lose. But if we do, it's not the end of the world. We can probably afford another one at some point. We've already gotten the Spirit Lift out of it, which is what we were really wanting to pick up to be feeding Talix charges. Okay, so we reveal the top 2 cards of her deck and 2 crystals. So that actually works out nicely for us. We got a little deck thinning from the Nemesis. Thank you very much. Next, we draw. Okay, another power, Aphotic Sun. To discard, spend 7. Power 2, Unleash. The player with the most charges suffers 3 damage and loses all of their charges. That would be a highly unfortunate one, so if we can buy that one off, that'll be worth buying off for us. Up next, Nemesis again. This is one of those. Firestorm. Unleash twice. Destroy each of Zaxos Ascended's prep spells that cost 3. Zaxos Ascended concentrates for each spell destroyed this way. And, start of that turn, these spells cast. Which I forgot to do. So 3 damage to Gravehold, 4 damage to Gravehold total. Take it down to 23. And reveal the top card of the turn order deck. It's Talix, so he takes 2 damage, down to 4. And both of those cards then go on the bottom. So for this one now, we unleash twice. 1, 2. So the good news is that we don't have to have Zaxos Ascended concentrate at all with that, since those are both 4-cost spells. The bad news is that he just unleashed twice instead of only having one spell out there for us to do. So Sparking Siphon, any player loses 1 pulse token and suffers 2 damage. If 1 pulse token was lost this way, Zaxos Ascended gains 3 life. And Pyromancy, the players collectively discard 2 cards in hand. Gravehold suffers 3 damage. So what Sparking Siphon tells us is that now that that card's in play, we're going to want to be a little bit careful about holding on to any of our pulse tokens, where we've been using those to really efficiently use our Ether in the start of this game. We're going to have to be a little more careful about that going forward. And Talix will be up next. So Talix, we are in a bit of trouble here, so we're going to have to cast everything. We will cast our Imbued Smash, 4 damage to Zaxos, take him down to 77. And actually, we might be able to get out of this. We'll deal 2 damage to him, discarding the Spark with Imbued Smash. Deal 2 damage to the Nemesis, take him down to 75. Cast a Spark to 74. And then prep our Full Might Slab. 2 more of these. We get 1, 2 sparks. And yeah, we cannot get enough charges to discard either of those. So we will go ahead and discard all 3 of these with our Full Might Slab that we played. That'll give us 4 Ether, which is 1 less than we'd really like to have, but we'll focus our Breach 3, prep our Spark to that, so we can actually clear out our whole hand this time around. Now, unfortunately, that would if we can get that Breach 3 open, that'll be really nice with those Imbued Smashes. We can get an extra 2 damage out of those. So next turn we'll have Vristwood, Fernasium, Imbued Smash, and 2 Sparks. Now, up next, so this is definitely when we kind of want the Nemesis to, I think we kind of want the Nemesis to go first, because we're not going to be able to discard, nobody has any charges right now, we're not going to be able to discard any cards or we're not going to be able to get 7 Ether. I'm sorry, I'm not thinking clearly. We aren't going to be able to get 7 Ether to discard that power. So if it could go off before the next player turn, if we could maybe get a beefy minion out there that all of our spells could hit, nope, no such luck. All right, so now Mazra will start off by casting Mazra's Gift. We're going to deal 4 damage to Zaxos, take him down to 70, and we will let Talix gain 1 life. We can either give him life or charges, and in this case we're going to give him life. 5. Yeah. And then that gives us a charge for casting from our Research Breach. That triggers our Wall Prepped effect of Spirit Lift and gives Talix 2 charges. So good for us there. Cast Spirit Lift to deal 5 damage. Zaxos is down to 65. So that's goodness. Then we've got 6 Ether in hand of Vristwood Amber and 4 crystals. So with that 6, I think we will go ahead and we should have, Mazra card coming up. So yeah, we'll go ahead and charge up. Player with the most charges suffers 3 damage and loses all their charges. So that would be a very lousy thing to have happen to us. We don't want to buy a bunch of charges. We will buy, with 6 Ether, do we focus a breach? Do we open our breach 2? Do we buy another spell? I think we can afford to pick up an Imbued Smash. That probably makes some sense. Normally, I would want to buy charges with Mazra at this point, but since Zaxos, the next time he goes, is going to get rid of is going to destroy the charges from the player with the most charges. There's no point in being fully charged up. Well, I guess I could have used that to cycle a spell, but anyway. Up next, Talix. So Talix is going to go. That actually works out pretty well for us. So we have to cast our Spark on Breach 3. That'll deal 1 damage to Zaxos, take him down to 64. Then the rest of these, so we got a Vrisswood Amber and a Farnasium. That's at least 3 Ether. Then we can get 4 or 5 Ether if we discard those. Yeah, I think that's probably worth it. So, yeah. I think what we're going to have to do here, since Mazra wasn't able to get rid of her pulse tokens, I had been hoping to open Breach 3 and put my Imbued Smash on there, but instead, I think we're going to have to cast another Spark. 1 more damage to the Nemesis. So I'll prep that one. That's 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, we'll cast 2 Sparks. 2 more damage to the Nemesis. We'll prep an Imbued Smash, prep a Spark, Vrisswood Amber, Farnasium, and discard a Spark for discard a Spark for 4 Ether there. That'll buy us 2 more charges. We'll discard those to get rid of the Sparking Siphon. That will prevent Zaxos from gaining any life on us and taking us backwards. And that will be good for our turn as Talix. We've got great. Oh, forgot to discard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Then we've got. Who's coming up next? Up next is, Mazra. All right. Well, that actually is going to work out pretty well for us. So we've got a Full Might Slab, 2 more Pulse tokens. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, that works out really well. We can actually lose 3 of these to get rid of Aphotic Sun for 7. And then we will prep Mazra's Studies and Breach 3 there. So in hindsight, I wish I had brought the charges, but who knew we were going to be lucky enough, lucky, quote unquote, enough to have 2 Nemesis turns at the end of the deck here. So next time around, Mazra will have Mazra's Gift, Spirit Lift, Imbued Smash, and just enough Ether to open our Breach 2 to prep all those spells. So that'll be convenient. Now, Zaxos is going to go. So he casts his Pyromancy card. Players collectively discard 2 cards in hand. Gravehold suffers 3 damage. So Gravehold's down to 20. Now Mazra, I would actually really like to keep all the cards in her hand, if I can. If I can't, I'll discard a spell. Over here, I think we are much less concerned about that. So it'd be nice to have 3 other. Do we just deal with that? Yeah, I guess we just deal with that. So we'll discard 2 Sparks over here. That'll be our collective 2, and we draw. Mangleroot comes out. Mangleroot's a minion from War Eternal. Gravehold suffers 3 damage. This minion suffers 2 damage. So he will take Gravehold down pretty quickly if we let him. But the good news is he's easier to kill than he'd look with his double arrow. And I forgot, I still have a Talix turn in here. But anyway, so Nemesis goes. Gravehold takes 3 down to 17. Mangleroot takes 2 damage down to 10. And Mage Ender. Wow. All right. The player with the most open breaches suffers 2 damage, is his persistent effect. And up next, Talix. So Talix, we will... Yeah, that works out okay. So we'll cast our Imbued Smash. I think we'll do... Let's see, we both have 2 open breaches. We're about to have more than that, though. Let's do 4 damage to Mage Ender. Take him down to 5. We'll deal 1 more damage to Mage... First, we'll discard a Spark to deal 2 damage to Zaxos, since we can. We'll do 1 more damage to Mage Ender, take him down to 4. And then we will prep our Imbued Smash. Play our Farnasium, which we don't get any other for. We'll put it on top of our deck so that we don't get stuck with spells in hand. And there we go. Now we got our Full Might Slab, Farnasium, and 3 Sparks for next time around for Talix. And this I meant to keep back here. So it'd be nice to get a Talix turn to start off here so that we could take out that Mage Ender before we take any more player damage. We'll see if the turn order deck wants to cooperate. Yep, Talix is up. So that's convenient. Imbued Smash. That'll kill the Mage Ender before he has a chance to do anything. And do we have a... Let's see, so in hand here, we got Farnasium, 3 Sparks, and a Full Might Slab. So that's a potential for 1, 4, 5, 6, 7 Ether, which we don't necessarily need. I think, yeah, let's go ahead. We'll discard a Spark, get an extra 2 damage onto Zaxos here, take him down to 58. And then we'll play our Full Might Slab, get our 2 Pulse tokens, play our Farnasium, which gets us to 3. Or sorry, excuse me, rather, that's 1, 2 Ether. I think we'll discard our 2 Pulse tokens for 4 Ether, and discard 1 Spark with the Farnasium for 5 Ether, prep the other one. So 5 Ether, that'll open our Breach 3, which we'll actually prep the Spark to, and buy us a charge. And then these guys we will prep down here. Remember that our Farnasium is the 5th card down there. So yeah, we will need to keep the Farnasium around for this next hand. Although actually, I guess we're at the point now where we have 3 open breaches, so we can stop worrying for the most part about having to cycle Farnasiums as much. We got some discard with our Imbued Smash if we ever wind up with an extra Spark. So that is Talix's turn. Up next is Mazra. So we will cast Mazra's Studies, which will deal 1 damage to Mangleroot, take him down to 9. We get a charge thanks to our Research Breach. We will prep a Spirit Lift on 3, prep Mazra's Gift, or Spirit Lift on 1, Mazra's Gift on 3, and then we'll use our Vrisswood Amber and our Crystal. That'll open up our Breach 2 for us so we can prep our Imbued Smash. So we got plenty of damage set up there from Mazra. If we can get another of her turns before the Nemesis goes, we'll be able to take out Mangleroot before he can do any more damage to us. And unfortunately, we didn't get, since we opened up Breach 2 there, we did not get any additional Sparks for Talix, but c'est la vie. All right, oh nice, that'll be a potential 8 Ether turn next time around. We could get another Imbued Smash if we wanted, or another Spirit Lift if we wanted to, which probably be worth it, even though because I think we won't have a chance to use our, well, maybe not. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Up next is Mazra. All right. So we will start off Mazra's Gift. That is 4 damage. Mazra gains a charge. 4 damage to Mangleroot will take him to 5. If I can find it on the dice here. There we go. Down to 5. And since Mazra gained a charge on her turn, Talix gets 2 thanks to Spirit Lift. We will then cast Spirit Lift, which will do 5 damage to Mangleroot, take it out of play, and we'll cast Imbued Smash, which will do 4 damage to Zaxos, take him down to 54. And let's see, do we want to discard a card? So things we could do here. We've got the potential for 8 Ether, since we already had 1 Pulse token prepped. That could be a Spirit Lift. I'm not sure that we need that. I'm thinking we're better off. We already have an Imbued Smash and a Spirit Lift. We're going to have 2 upgraded Mazra cards. So if instead... well, we don't quite have enough. Both of my Mazra cards... yeah, alright. So that sounds like that might make sense. So we'll use Full Might Slab... gain 2 Ether. So yeah, wait, sorry. We'll discard a crystal, which will do 2 more damage to the Nemesis. Use Full Might Slab for 1 Ether, 3, 4, 5 Ether. Wait, is that right? 1, 2, 3. Excuse me. 1, 2, 3, 4 Ether, and we can lose 2 of these to make that 6 Ether. We'll put 4 on here, we'll pop that, lets us return all of our cards that are named Mazra to our hand. Then we will use our remaining 2 to buy 2 more charges, just so they're around. We'll prep Mazra's Gift onto our opened Research Breach, and then I think we may actually just hang on to Mazra's Studies, so we didn't really need to go grab it. We're just cycling Mazra's Gift so that we can upgrade this next time around. So yeah, we'll draw 1, 2. Oh. Get these discarded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. So next time around, we'll have 5 Ether and Mazra Studies. So that'll be good for us there. Talix goes, so it's going to be double Nemesis turn this time around. We will see what happens with that. Talix goes, we'll cast our Spark for 2 damage to the Nemesis. Then we've got a Fernasium and a Verswood Amber. So that's at least 3 Ether. So yeah, we'll discard a Spark to make that 4 Ether. We'll put 2, that'll buy us 2 charges. We'll pop those, and we'll actually destroy 2 Sparks in hand, which allows us to shuffle our turn order card into the turn order deck. So that is gives us an extra turn to power up here and react to whatever Zaxos does, although we're going to be very limited in our ability to do that since we don't have any spells prepped at this point. But it will also thin our deck out a little bit so that we don't have to have as much. We can get through our deck a little faster. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we're going to be okay. Here, 1, 2, 3. So, 4, 5. So that'll be 5 spells. So we don't. So now, yeah, we do actually. We'll put you on top. Verswood Amber down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gives us, yeah, Imbued Smash and those guys. And 5. So a pair of Imbued Smashes and 2 Sparks. So yeah, we needed that. Needed to keep that Fernasium on top of our deck. Now, up next, Nemesis. That's good. Okay, oh, wow. So Inner Eye. To discard, spend 9. Place the bottom card of the Concentrate deck on top of the spell deck, then unleash twice. So we are unlikely to be able to do anything about that since we don't have any Pulse tokens prepped. Up next, Talix gets to go again. So we will prep an Imbued Smash and an Imbued Smash. Prep a Spark, and then I think Fernasium and Spark. We'll discard the Spark to buy a charge. And our Farnasium is not needed because we should get to the next one, I think. 5. Yeah, we got 3 sparks, a fulmite slab, and a Farnasium. So that would get us up to 7, but 7 is not 9. So unfortunately, we won't be able to do anything about that. Discard a power token. Prelatus of Lore. So immediately, Zaxos Ascended concentrates. So we take the top card of the concentrate deck, put it in here. Draw a card from Zaxos Ascended spell deck. Prep that card to Zaxos Ascended's farthest right unoccupied breach. So he is bad news. We want to get rid of him as quick as we can. Okay. Up next, Mazra. All right, we'll cast Mazra's Gift. We gain a charge from that one. We will give 1 health to Talix, take him up to 6. And 4 damage to the Prelatus of Lore. So he'll go from 15 down to 11. And then we've got Vrisswood Amber and 3 crystals. So we'll use 2 of that to buy a charge. Pop that to get rid of Mazra's Studies, destroy that card, and we will instead pick up, I think, another Mazra's Arc. Well, is the 1 extra damage worth it? Yeah, we'll do Mazra's Arc. Get the extra damage. We'll probably be cycling through that one pretty quick. So we'll prep Mazra's Arc. And then I've got 3 more Ether left after that. We'll just buy 1 charge. And we'll have a pretty good hand coming up next round for her. Now, Talix. All right. So Talix, we've got 3 sparks, a fulmite slab, and a Farnasium. So that is not going to be enough to get our inner eye. So we'll want to charge up with that, but we'll probably take advantage. So we got an Imbued Smash. That will deal 5 damage to the Prelatus, take him down to 6. 6. And then we will go ahead and discard a charge. That then deals 3 damage to the Nemesis, since it's coming off of a 3 breach. So that takes the Nemesis to 47. We're almost halfway there. We will cast another Imbued Smash. That'll do another 4. Takes the Prelatus down to 2. If I can find that. Okay. And I think at that point, we'll actually hang on to that spark. Because we should be able to, we'll discard another spark, take the Nemesis to 45. We are, in fact, halfway there. And then we will prep this spark onto our +1 damage breach. And now we've got the ability to take out the Prelatus Allure on the next player turn, no matter who goes, so we don't need the rest of those sparks. Prep our play our Fulmite Slab and our Farnasium, get 2 pulse tokens, and we'll just use that for 1 more charge. Not a whole lot of point in buying extra charges right now. We'll be able to cycle those pulse tokens to hopefully greater effect in the future. And do we need our Farnasium? I have 1, 2. Nope, we'll draw it this turn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll have another Imbued Smash, a pair of Sparks, a Farnasium, and a Vrisswood Amber coming up next time. Now, let's see. Player turn or Nemesis? Nemesis. All right. So place the bottom card of the Concentrate deck on top of the spell deck, then unleash twice. So we've only got 1 card left in the Concentrate deck. Unleash twice, Breach Collision. Gravehold suffers 5 damage. So that is going to be rough. And Breach Communion, the player with the most pulse tokens loses 1 pulse token and suffers 3 damage. So right now that'd be Talix, if and when that comes up. So, Prelatus of Lore, draw a card from Zaxos Ascended spell deck, prep that card to his farthest right unoccupied breach. Okay, that's a gravity node. Any player suffers 2 damage and discards a card in hand, and it's on the 4 breach, so Gravehold suffers 2 damage when a spell is cast from this breach. And we got to do our draw phase still. So Prelatus, oh gosh, that is not happy. Prelatus of Death, and that might be death for us. 24 health, Zaxos Ascended concentrates, cast the top card of the spell deck. So that basically means we've only got 1 card left to concentrate on. What that effectively means is that we're going to be, it's an unleash twice now, more or less, for him with 24 health. I don't know that we're going to be able to take him out. This is when we regret not drafting a card that had silence on it. So that is probably the worst possible card we could have drawn to start Tier 3 off. And hopefully we get a player turn to respond to this first. Okay, Mazra gets to go. So we will cast Mazra's Arc. That will deal 3 damage, which will take out the Prelatus of Lore. So, at least we only have one of these big nasty minions that we're dealing with for the time being. We'll prep our Spirit Lift and our Imbued Smash. Now then, we've got a Full Might Slab and 2 crystals. So that's 3 Ether, 2 more Pulse tokens. That can be 6 Ether. So if that's 6 Ether, that could buy us 3 charges if we wanted them. So let's leave those 3 up there for the moment. So that could be 3 charges, which would let us pop off and get our Mazra cards back. But I don't know that we want to do all that. I think we probably want to, because we're going to be able to cast at least 2 spells. So we're going to get 2 more charges before we have our Mazra's Arc back in hand. So we really only want to buy 1 more charge. So I think at this point we are just not going to do anything, and we will we won't not do anything. We won't discard any of our pulse tokens. We'll drop these guys instead. We'll buy 1 charge with that. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm being foolish. We want to get rid of a card up here. So do we want to get rid of the Gravity Node or the Breach Communion? So we could theoretically buy 3 charges. So we could get rid of Breach Communion or Gravity Node. We can't get rid of Breach Collision because we don't have 5. So one of those is 3 damage and lose 1 Ether in a future turn from, it'd be Mazra at this point. Or Gravity Node is 2 damage and discard a card in hand plus 2 damage to Gravehold. I think Gravity Node is the one we want to get rid of here. So we will go ahead and discard one of these guys so we have our choice of who Breach Communion hits. That'll give us 4 Ether. That'll let us buy 2 charges. So we get 1 more charge than what we already got. We'll discard those, get rid of Gravity Node, put it back under here, and live to fight another day with these guys since we bought a charge. Did we already give Talix 2 charges? I think I did when I bought them already. So if I didn't, then we'll at least be conservative and say we didn't. So, all right, Mazra's Gift, Verswood Amber, 3 crystals coming up. Not too shabby. We'll have a crystal to discard to Imbued Smash and still be able to get a couple more charges. Now, up next, we can hope for a Talix turn to get rid of 1 more card. But we'll see. Yeah, all right, Talix gets to go. So Talix now, we will cast our Spark, because we need the damage. I'm debating, do we think we can race? If he is unleashing twice each turn, I don't think there's any way we kill him. But Prelatus of Death, 24 health. We'd be... So by the time we kill Prelatus of Death, we'd have 20 health left on the Nemesis. That's like one more round. So that would be 2 more Nemesis turns, like 4 unleashes from Prelatus of Death by that time. That feels like it's not worth it. So I think we're going to try to just race here. We're going to start doing all the damage we can to the Nemesis and forget everything else. So our 3 damage there will go to Zaxos. We'll take him down to 42. Prep our Imbued Smash. Prep 2 Sparks. Well, maybe not prep 2 Sparks. Let's think that through. Vristwood Amber and Farnasium will give us 3 Ether. So we'll discard a Spark to give us 4 Ether. We'll prep the other Spark. 4 Ether buys 2 more charges. We'll pop those to get rid of Breach Communion. Put it back down. Oh, or... Yeah, no, better... No, because I can't get... Alright, nope, can't quite. I was thinking I could get my 5th charge up, but I cannot. I can only get 1 more Ether without getting rid of the Imbued Smash, which would be a poor choice. So yeah, we'll get rid of that one. Draw back up to 5. Alright. And Nemesis turn. So Zaxos Ascended concentrates. That's our 1 turn where we don't get a double. Then cast the top card of the spell deck. Oh, sorry. First, Breach Collision. Gravehold suffers 5 damage. So that should have happened before the concentrate, so we'll get our spells in the right order there. Gravehold suffers 5 damage from that spell. We're down to 12. We need some healing. And we cast the top spell of the deck, Incinerating Fist. Gravehold suffers 3 damage. Ouch. Gravehold suffers 3. We're down to 9. We definitely need to get some Gravehold healing out of Talix. And so, lest we forget, forgot to discard those last time. I don't normally put my cards played up here, so I'm trying to get used to that. Then we draw. Quell. Gravehold suffers 7 damage or unleash 3 times. Ooh. I think... Well, we know we're into our lower... We'd be in like the 4-cost spells. I think the 7 damage... It pains me greatly to do that, and it makes us incredibly vulnerable. But I think we got to do the 7 damage, because I think the next, if we did 3 unleashes, I think we'd get hit for much worse than that. Okay. Let's see here. Shuffle it up. We need some player turns. Give me some player turns. Player 2. Excellent. Imbued Smash. That'll be 4 damage. Gain a charge. Talix gains 2 charges. 4 damage to the Nemesis. We will discard a crystal from hand to make that 6 damage to the Nemesis. Nemesis is down to 36. We will cast a Spirit Lift. That deals 5 damage. Nemesis to 31. This is going to be a race. And prep Mazra's Gift. We've got 2, 3, 4. That'll buy 2 charges for us, which will be just right for when... Yep, we get Mazra's Arc coming up here, so we'll be able to bump that one up to probably the higher damage version this time. So that's Mazra's turn. Come on, Talix. Nope, Nemesis. So Zaxos, when the concentrate deck is empty, when Zaxos Ascended concentrates, he unleashes instead. So we put a flare up top, and then cast the top card of the spell deck. Sparking Siphon. Any player loses 1 pulse token and suffers 2 damage. If 1 pulse token was lost this way, Zaxos gains 3 life. So I think we will let Mazra lose 1 pulse token and take the 2 damage. Zaxos gets 3 life back, up to 34. I'll be really annoyed if we end the game and he's at 3 life. Then we draw. Oh. Well, Engulf came up for us. Resolve the most recently discarded attack card in the Nemesis discard pile. So that means we got to take the Unleash 3 times now. And we are almost certainly dead on the next Zaxos turn. So Pyromancy, Gravehold suffers 3 damage. Players discard 2 cards in hand. Monstrous Inferno, the players collectively discards or suffer 7 damage. And Gravity Node, any player suffers 2 damage and discards a card in hand. All right. Well, that was a turn. Up next is the Nemesis. So that's that. We cast all those spells get cast. That takes Gravehold down to 0, and we have lost. Well, that was actually a much closer game than I thought it would be. With the damage that we were dealing, we are probably another 6, maybe 7 player turns. So we had 3 more player turns this time around. So really, if we could have made it through the next round, if we could have made it through 3 more Nemesis turns than what we did, we had at least even odds of winning that one. If we could have made it through 3 more Nemesis turns. So, but big if there. In this case, I think, yeah, if we actually wanted to play that one out, Gravehold takes 1 damage, that takes it down to 1. Talix takes 2 damage, which takes him down to 4, because his player card was on top there, so he suffers 2. Pyromancy, the players collectively discard 2 cards in hand, Gravehold suffers 3. That zeroes out Gravehold and ends it for us. The players collectively suffer 7 damage, that kills both of our mages, and suffers 2 more damage for a mage. Gravehold suffers 2 more. Any player suffers 2 more. So yeah, that was a bad turn for the mages. But anyway, that was a fun one to play. It came down much closer than I necessarily expected it to, with how some of our tier 2 turns were going in particular. But we made some gambles early on that paid off for us, buying those early Fulmite slabs. Really turned out to be a good idea. We got lucky that there were no basic minions in tier 1, and that Zaxos' specific minions were all kind of, crammed in the back, which let us get some economy going on both of our mages and get some big spells out by the time they showed up. We might have been better off if we had 1 mage pick up a damage spell anyway. Since we knew those minions were coming, we could have maybe gotten rid of one of them a turn earlier and avoided some of the damage that we took. But all in all, that was a very fun game. Hope you enjoyed watching along. Zaxos, kind of like I said at the very beginning here, he's a fun Nemesis for me personally, because just playing him as is, I can really go through and draft what seems like it's going to be a pretty powerful market, or tailor a really specific market to him to defeat him, and it still becomes a very challenging game that'll either blow up on you really early or go down to the wire. I have managed to beat him once. I used the old, did a drafted market that gave me Zahana, Kadir, and Blaze, which I was able to survive long enough to get the 5 copies of Blaze prepped with an Eternal Ember on Zahana that does 11 billion damage, and was able to kill Zaxos after a couple of those. So it is possible to beat him outside of the campaign, but it is definitely not easy. And he is definitely if you ever feel like the game's getting too easy for you, you can whip him out and have him embarrass you. Anyway, hope you guys had fun watching. I certainly enjoyed playing, so thanks a lot, and we will catch you next time.